Oh, I know that gets me copyright every single time I play it, but I really, really like that intro. I'm going to find a non copyrighted song to put in the background on that one, but I really like that. What's up, everybody? It's Thursday, which means all rise. Court is now in session. How are we all doing? We've got this stupid username thing going on. Okay, let's see if I can get everyone right here. We've got Clyde, good old Hokies. Stortopus is here. And Donna claims to not be currently driving, but I think that's probably a lie. She must be lying. And then Mash, what's up, buddy? How are we all doing? We were a little late. I was on the phone with a good friend, trying to talk about a little bit of life. Sean is here. Jason, Lily, how are y'all doing? We've got kind of a Twitter show today. A lot of what I said was going to happen has happened, but it's still, if I, dive deep into, what's it called? The Inbach decision out of the Ninth Circuit, it's just going to be a repeat of every stream I've done in the last 5 weeks. Yeah, 5 weeks. So we're not going to go too far into that. What's up, Margaret? How you doing? Banier and Lynn Hager. How are y'all doing? Some crazy things have happened in the last couple of days. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is I've been seeing, and y'all have seen me replying to it on Twitter, I've been seeing so many tweets talking about how people cannot afford homes, how this is the worst time to buy a house in the last decade, all this stuff that, in my opinion, is trying to do a lot of harm to the U.S. housing market. I think that these accounts, whether it's Unusual Whale or I can't remember what the other ones were. What's up, Breezy? Are attempting to destabilize the American economy. I think this is a hatchet job, an attempt to ruin what the good work that Trump has been doing on the housing market front. We've just reached the lowest mortgage rates in over the last year. You can get an FHA loan with a sub 6 mortgage rate right now, which, ask your parents, would blow their fucking mind. Anyone that bought a house basically prior to 2016 would give an arm and leg for that. But it really annoys me because one of the issues that people are having is they are trying to buy stuff that they don't need. You've got people out there trying to buy 3,000 square foot houses that you don't need. There's a reason the term starter home is not something that was invented in the last decade. Our grandparents bought starter homes and then upgraded. Your first car wasn't a Lamborghini. Your first car was a 1992 Ford Ranger. You buy kind of crappy and then you move up. Don't expect your first home to have everything you want. That's part of the problem with people today is they want all these bells and whistles. It's like, no, first off, you don't need that. Why does the single guy need 3,000 square feet? That is a huge issue that I'm seeing. Yes, everyone that's going to say it is absolutely right. Yes, allowing the BlackRocks and the Zillows and the Vanguards to buy single-family homes in the hundreds and thousands and just rent them out is affecting the home price. It absolutely is. The sheer amount of H-1B visa holders that were using FHA to buy homes affected the housing price. Absolutely. But buying within your economic structure will go much further to allowing you to own a home than any other. That right now, I'll give you an example right now. There is a house, I don't know, 20 miles from me that is on like a 0.6 acre lot. It is 2,200 square feet. It is currently selling for $170,000. And it is because it needs work done to it. There's a bunch of stuff that needs to be done. Now, from the pictures, now I haven't been over there. I'm not going to buy it. But from the pictures, it looks like something you could live in and fix up. Someone who is handy should buy that house and fix it up and live in it. It would be a beautiful home. But the only person that's going to do that is someone that's going to buy it to flip it for triple its value. So that's part of the problem, is people aren't willing to put in the work that they could put it. I'm not good enough with that stuff. If I really enjoyed carpentry and really enjoyed fixing stuff up, I would absolutely do it. I saw one this morning, and I'll get to the chat in just a second, guys. I saw one this morning that was like acre lot that they're selling for $36,000 because there's a really shitty house on it. So they're selling the house. It just so happens to be on an acre lot. Honestly, I ought to buy it, pay the $200 a month mortgage, and then get a construction loan and build a house on it. The only problem is I'm not far enough in the process to really do that. But that would be a very smart idea. Maybe if I made another, I don't know, couple $1,000, maybe I would. But yeah, Jason, exactly. You have a 3.125. That's pretty fucking good. And again, I'm starting to see fours. I saw a low 4 the other day. It was really good. Startopus, I agree. I really hate the @ stuff. And what's annoying is that you don't really have the option. I haven't been able to find anything that says don't do it or anything that says do it. Okay, we're going to start with this. Yeah, who had NBA players and coaches getting arrested by the FBI on their 2025 bingo card? How seriously screwed is the NBA and the players, legally speaking? Well, I don't really know a lot about what this is. This reminds me a lot of the sting they did with the NCAA about 7 years ago when they arrested a bunch of I think the Louisville head coach, someone at Michigan, some Memphis players, something like that. I don't really remember what it was, but I don't think the NBA. Well, actually, you know what? Before I actually say anything, let me actually look this up. And I'm going to ask Grok to give me a quick synopsis because, again, I'm not really sure what all that is for. Give me a quick synopsis on the NBA arrests today. So I know that the FBI arrested about 30 different people. Yeah, let's see. Operation Nothing But Net. In Operation Nothing But Net and Operation Royal Flush, Over 30 individuals, including mafia members from the Bonanno, Genovese, and Gambino and Lucchese crime families were arrested across 11 states for illegal gambling schemes involving tens of millions of dollars. The probe exposed rigged high-stakes poker games and sports betting fraud using insider NBA info. So the NBA figures that were arrested were Terry Rozier, who's Miami Heat guard, Chauncey Billups, Portland Trail Blazers head coach, and Damon Jones, former NBA player. So regarding the NBA, I don't think the NBA is in a lot of trouble. Okay. Sports all over the world have survived gambling issues. The MLB had an issue in the 1920s with the Black Sox. Then they had an issue in the 40s. Then they had an issue in the 70s with the Big Red Machine and Pete Rose. Then they had, I'm sure I'm missing 3 or 4. College sports have issues every couple of years. Boxing has had an issue for, 130 years. So gambling in itself isn't going to ruin the NBA. What I think is going to ruin the NBA is, well, there's a couple things. Not to get too deep into sports. The NBA's big problem is the fact that they rely too heavily on people who are 40 plus years old to sell the league and refuse to promote any of their younger people. They spent a year trying to make that guy in Atlanta the next face and then refused to do it. But this, Hokies is right. This was the funniest thing. And if I can find it, I want to share it because this was absolutely hilarious. Let's search ESPN bets. Yes, here it is. Oh, wait, no, here we go. Okay, this was hilarious, guys. And I'm going to have to remove. Yeah, so watch down here on the bottom right. So this is a, this is a placard advertising ESPN Bet. Their betting service that a decade ago would never have existed. And so
was always something that was completely verboten.
What the guy in the blue suit is saying is basically gambling, people as players or people that have insider information should never gamble. There's a very bold line where that line is, and everyone involved should know where it is. But watch, he's sitting there saying gambling is bad as the ESPN Bet Sportbook ad is up. So let's see what happens. So he's sitting there talking, yada, yada, yada. And then all of a sudden someone goes, oh, hang on a second. The thing is up there. We should probably take that down. And what do? Wait for it. They take it off. The entire overlay just removed. That's pretty funny. But yeah, I don't think that the NBA is going to really have an issue. I think they're going to have to get involved with punishment for these people. Terry Rozier is probably going to have to. He's the active player. He's probably going to end up getting either expelled from the league or suspended for a very long time. But sports in general have been having a very big upsurge in issues with betting. And that's the problem is, when you used to go to a baseball game, you'd look out onto the field, and all across the wall, the outfield wall, were these signs that said no betting. And that was a rule of baseball. You did not bet. And that's why the Black Sox was such a big deal, because it was like the one cardinal rule. You could admire your home run and understand that you were going to get beamed with a ball the next time. You could slow walk around the bases after you hit a home run. You could do all these things, but you understood that the other team was going to do something if you did that. Okay, you took that on. But the one rule was you do not bet on the game. It's too beautiful a thing to besmirch with the black stain of betting. And when the Black Sox did that, that's one of the reasons why when Shoeless Joe likely didn't want to do it. He had like a third grade education. He didn't really understand what was happening. And when they offered it, he basically thought that it was kind of like a bonus. And that's why he still hit like 500 in that series. He was still in fact, I think he was almost the MVP. Like he was crushing it. And then obviously, he admitted to doing it, and he got banned from baseball, which is, say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so. Yeah, probably. Well, at least one of them's getting banned. So the NBA placed Rozier and Billups. Billups is the head coach. They placed him on immediate leave and is cooperating with authorities. This builds on prior cases like ex-Raptor player Jonte Porter's lifetime ban for similar betting manipulation. And the thing that annoys me the most about this is, what's the league minimum in the NBA? Oh, no shit. The league minimum in the NBA now, so that's for a rookie, is $1.2 million. There's like 3 neighborhoods in this country that $1.2 million doesn't give you just a fucking fantastic lifestyle. That's what's so annoying about all of this. That's what's annoying about the Shohei Ohtani stuff. That's what's annoying about this. It's all about greed. You got all these people who want more and more and more and more and more, and they're not willing to actually wait to get it. It's also the same issue that puts millions of Americans in any kind of debt. It's what got me in the little bit of debt that I have outside of that lovely law school debt. I didn't wait. I could have waited 2 weeks and bought the dang thing, but I didn't. I didn't want to wait. And so that's what happens. You get people who aren't willing to wait. Or you get people who want the bigger house that don't need the bigger house. That's what's so annoying about all of this. Money. Money is the root of all evil. I think it says that somewhere in some famous book. What do y'all think? Shocked to find gambling. Lean back, have a snack, take a nap. What's up, Kings? Working and lurking. We'll enjoy that lurking. I know we want to enjoy the working, but enjoy the lurking. Oh yeah, let's get into the really only really big legal thing. So I was right. Everyone say, put it in chat. I was right. In fact, that's going to be my first, what's it called? Emoji when I get monetized. I was right. The United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit, Gavin Newsom as governor of California versus Donald J. Trump as president of the United States. A judge of this court. Now remember, so this is the case. This is Newsom v. Trump. This is the case where Hokies, I'm going to have to do a lot of research very quickly to kind of talk about that. But if you've got anything you can send me, send it, and I'll try to get through it. This was the case where Donald Trump sends in. Yes, he is. I'll tell you what, his buttlickers on YouTube hate me. Absolutely hate me. Holy crap. Anytime I make a video about Gavin Newsom, they just show up. So this was the case. Donald Trump sends in the National Guard into LA during those LA riots back in June. And Gavin Newsom sued, saying you don't have the authority. Was he the, hang on one second. SCOTUS 2005. Hang on one second. Breyer. I think he's the. Is he on? Okay, so Judge Breyer, who's the cousin of former Supreme Court Justice Breyer, I forget what his first name is, said that Trump had overstepped his authority as president in sending in the National Guard, but he stayed the TRO that Gavin Newsom was seeking. He stayed that for like a week until Trump could appeal to the Court of Appeals. Then, in a 3-judge opinion, a 3-judge tribunal, before, I don't think it was these guys on this before. Let me look real quick. Judge, one of them looks like Nagranol. No, it was not before this. This is the. Huh. Hang on. I'm trying to find the judge I'm thinking of. Miller. Okay, you know what? No, I think this was. So Trump appeals to the Court of Appeals in the 9th District, and these 3 judges heard the case. 2 of them found for Trump. So the Court of Appeals sided with Trump and said, no, you absolutely can do this. Actually, no, let me take that back. That's not what they said. They said, we disagree with the TRO. We are removing the TRO because we believe you are likely to win at trial. And if we keep the TRO in place, then there will be more harm done than good. So we're going to remove the TRO. So that's what that happened. That's when that happened. Gavin Newsom then appealed that decision, or then Gavin Newsom, I believe, won at the trial court. And then it was immediately appealed back to the Court of Appeals, which then they said, no, trial court, you're wrong. Redo it. And then Trump won again. And then Gavin Newsom appealed. And they said, then the Court of Appeals said, no, you're wrong. Donald Trump, as president of the United States, can absolutely do this. He's not using them as police. He's using them as protectors of federal property. It's well within the rules of the Posse Comitatus Act. It's well within his power under the Article 10 and as executive commander in chief of the armed forces. So then one of the judges, as it says here, a judge of this court, sua sponte, which I think means anonymous. I don't remember what that means. Of one owns a court. Basically asked the entire panel, the entire 19-judge panel, to rehear the case. And a vote was taken among the non-recused judges. So there were a set of active judges who recused themselves. And of those votes, Newsom lost. So a vote was taken, and the matter failed to receive a majority of the votes of the non-recused active judges in favor of en banc consideration. What that just means is the entire panel. Rehearing in Bach is denied. Judge Berzon's statement regarding the denial of rehearing, Bach and Judge Gould's dissent from the denial of rehearing. Okay, so I want to see what Judge Berzon's statement says. Let me get the case number over here. 25-3727. Super bright. Okay, hang on. So, do we... Let me share this tab. So, Senior Circuit Judge Berzon wrote this, let's call it an opinion. And Chief Judge Murguia and Circuit Judges Wardlaw, Fletcher, Gould, Paez, Christian, Hurwitz, Call, Sanchez, and Mendoza. I do have a list of the judges somewhere. Hang on. I want to see who appointed those judges. Okay, so Berzon. Senior Circuit. Okay. Looking for it. I don't see him. Here he is. He was appointed to the bench by Bill Clinton. Murguia is the chief judge, appointed by Obama. Wardlaw, appointed by Clinton. Fletcher, there's a lot of judges here. Appointed by Clinton. Gould. Let's do Control F for this. Gould was appointed by Clinton. Paez was appointed by Clinton. Holy shit. Christian was appointed by Obama. Hurwitz was appointed by Obama. Cole, Biden, Sanchez, Biden. I'm starting to think I might not know what I'm talking about. And Mendoza, Biden. Okay. No. So not a single one of these judges. Am I reading this wrong? Maybe I am reading this wrong. Okay, let's see what these guys said. This case presents an issue of the gravest consequence: the peacetime deployment of military troops in America's cities. For the first time in nearly 250-year history of this country, the president claims extraordinary unilateral powers. I do think I was reading this wrong. I think I misunderstood what. I think these judges wanted to issue a statement, and the other judges that voted for Trump basically did not. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see. Critically, the authority the president now claims in face of that tradition is granted to Congress, not the president, by the Constitution. Yeah, Beardo gave me jades. This country could evolve into one which the use of military force displaces the rule of law, principles of federalism. I mean, fair point. But the panel confined to addressing the president's deployment authority on an aggressively expedited timeline, for the most part, deferred to the president's own determination of the legality of his actions. It held that courts cannot review the president's determination that the statutory preconditions for calling out the National Guard have been met as long as the determination, quote, reflects a colorable assessment of the facts and law within the range of honest judgment. In doing so, it invited presidents now and in the future to deploy military troops in response to the kind of commonplace, short-lived domestic disturbances whose containment conventionally falls to local and federal law enforcement units. Yeah. It's Oregon v. Trump. This is the case I was talking about just the other day. The panel may have an opportunity to revisit its preliminary stance on the deference due the president with the benefit of greater time and more extensive briefing when it addresses the merits of the president's appeal. I certainly hope that it can and will do so. Yeah, so I misunderstood what the caption was saying. That's too bad, because there is an actual dissenting opinion of their decision. Let's zoom out a little bit. Man, it takes forever to zoom out on a PDF. Because see, it says the paragraph at the beginning says that Gould is dissenting. And so I just naturally assumed that the first thing was going to be these judges saying why they voted for, and then Gould would say why he's dissenting. But nope. All of these. So then what was the. So there are currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. There are currently 52 judges and there is one vacancy in the Ninth Circuit. Let's see if I'm wrong about something. Okay. AI says I'm wrong about the number. There's actually 29 active judges in the Ninth Circuit. So this is a vote that failed to create an en banc decision. En banc decisions are 11 judges. So they need, of the 29, they needed what? 15 judges to vote yay, and they did not get that. I wonder. I wonder if. I was wondering if we could get like the voting record for that, but it probably is not something that we can actually find. Which is too bad, because that would have been kind of cool to see which judges are cool and which ones are fans of communism. Hokies, did you send me anything? Nope. Hey, I tell you what, guys, they're not helping themselves, are they? Like, come on, man. Y'all knew what was going to happen. Hang on. I'm going to do this real quick. Y'all are going to love this. I already have I thought I did. There it is. Okay, I need a picture of Beardo. This one might work. Save image. Background remove. Like, seriously, does Beardo look a little like the Liver King right there? This is what I'm doing. I tell you what, it would be so funny if they were watching right now, but they're definitely not. They're probably stroking their facial hair together. Hokies, I'll look at it in just a second. Okay, now we gotta remove the hat. So Hokies is talking about the FRT trigger stuff. I was looking it up a little bit just before the stream. So there is a decision. I don't remember if it was the ATF that made the decision or a court. Honestly, that's actually pretty good. That's a lot better than I thought I was going to get it. Share, download, transparent background. I'm so happy right now. Oh, I'm serious. I'm really happy with that. Okay, y'all need to go like that. He did. He made it a bro island. Okay. Oh, I can't watch a video while I look at this. Okay. Forced reset triggers. Let me see if Grok can give me a quick thing on it. This is Hoagies. This is out of the court case on the FTL shit, right? Y'all remember? Y'all remember that? Okay, Hokies. This is a complete guess. Okay, I'm completely guessing here. So tell me if I'm right. All right, so um, the ATF a couple years ago made a new rule through their rule system that's complete BS that forced reset triggers, which, if I remember correctly, basically when you pull that trigger, the trigger resets itself automatically, which makes pulling the trigger again is supposed to make it a little quicker. Again, I mean, shooting guns myself, I don't think it makes it that much quicker. Hang on. There we go. And in February, no. Yes, in 2021, the ATF said FRTs are illegal. They turn your gun into a machine gun, they're illegal. And seized like basically all of them. And then when the ATF tried to ban bump stocks in 2024, the Supreme Court rule overturned the ATF's ban. And but in that ban, they said that because because you have to pull the trigger multiple times, it is not a machine gun. And that led to the FRT complaint saying, okay, well, you banned FRTs because you said they create a machine gun. But the Supreme Court has now said that in order to create a machine gun, you have to have less than one trigger pull. So, one trigger pull. So the Department of Justice settled a whole bunch of lawsuits with rare breed triggers and others, agreeing that FRTs aren't machine guns. Hang on, let me check this out. Because I don't think you're right. It looks, from what I'm seeing, it looks like the ATF is saying that it applies to all FRTs that were seized. This is the only thing I hate about talking about stuff that I'm not like super on the ball about. I'm going to end up on a list. Let's see what the ATF's website says. If you are the possessor of an FRT-15 and or WOT believed to be in ATF custody as a result of a recall, and you have not yet received a notice regarding the steps to take to have your device is returned, please email frtreturn@atf.gov. Update from June 10th. Rare breed triggers FRT-15 and wide open triggers. Pursuant to the settlement agreement between the United States and Rare Breed Triggers, LLC, Rare Breed Firearms, LLC, National Association of Gun Rights, a whole bunch of people. The United States has agreed to return FRT-15s and WOTs seized or taken as a result of a voluntary surrender, and that are not evidence in criminal investigations or prosecutions are subject to forfeiture pursuant to 27 CFR Section. As part of the settlement agreement, the United States has agreed not to enforce 18 U.S.C. Section 9220, the requirements of the National Firearms Act, Gun Control Act of 1968, as amended by the Hughes Amendment. I understand why people get really annoyed with attorneys when I read this kind of shit. Let's see. Or agency interpretation of 26, which an eligible FRT is contended to be a machine gun or otherwise unlawful against any person or organization for possession. Yeah, I don't think it's a fair point. So the settlement agreement only covers eligible FRTs. Let's see. Let me see what document they are talking about. Did she pull up the document? Okay, that is because she is looking at the. So in this video, I will listen to the entire video later, Hokies, and give you a better answer. But this video, she is looking at the statement from the ATF dated February 10th. Which is this statement right here. And she's talking about return to all parties, including manufacturers, distributors, resellers, the following forced reset triggers: rare breed triggers and wide open triggers. So she's this video. Now let me check to make sure it doesn't go into it doesn't continue talking about anything. Yeah, so, and this is this video is only 8 days old. This is nothing against her. But her video, in my opinion, is out of date. She's discussing a statement from the ATF dated February 10th, 2025, when there's an update as late of June of this year saying that they've agreed to return FRTs and WOTs seized or taken as a result of voluntary surrender that are not evidence. So they're returning the FRTs. And it's only eligible FRTs. Now, any FRT should be eligible as long as it's not a machine gun conversion device, switches, drop-in, auto sears, lightning links, or trigger control group travel reducers. As long as it is just an FRT, whether it's made by Pomona State Armory, Glock, or Rare Breed, it should be covered by this settlement. Now, if they only seized Rare Breed FRTs, so who makes FRTs? That's the question. If only Rare Breed makes them, let's see. So yeah, so I've got Rare Breed wide open triggers, Grave Starfire, Big Daddy Unlimited 3D printed FRTs. So the return of Rare Breed FRTs is the priority because they are one of the plaintiffs. The WOTs are explicitly included in the settlement, so they're covered. And Grave Star Fires version 1 and 2 are also covered in the settlement. So, can we find the settlement? And then there are some 3D printed FRTs that are eligible if they were surrendered or seized. And then the exceptions are like what I said: machine gun conversion kits, auto sears, Glock. Did somebody go live? Because almost everyone has left. Is this that boring? I don't know why I'm complaining. That's a dumb thing to complain about. But yeah, no, Hokies. I think she's wrong. Again, I'm not trying to say she's wrong or she doesn't know what she's talking about. You've sent me multiple videos where she's talked about this stuff. She clearly knows what she's talking about. I think she just has outdated information. The CobraCast went live. I don't think the ATF is holding on to any FRTs that are legal. They're only holding on to the things that don't fall in the settlement. So, does that answer your question? He hopes, begging. This too. If they're evidence, if they were like Glock switches, things like that, they're not eligible then. Yeah. Thanks for liking the tweet. Oh my gosh. Okay. We're going to talk about this as well. So, as Justice Thomas insinuated in when did they decide that? May. So if I recall correctly, the Supreme Court they decided that last year. The Supreme Court struck down Roe v. Wade last year. And in the opinion, Justice Thomas insinuated that the current Supreme Court would be willing to strike down Obergefell, which is the case that made gay marriage legal in all 50 states. Now, the reason it should be struck down is because Loving v. Virginia is a bunch of bullshit. So Loving v. Virginia is the Supreme Court case that made marriage and was it marriage? Yes. Yeah, because it's the race one. There was a law in Virginia that basically said black people can't marry white people. And Lovings v. Virginia struck down that law. They said marriage is a right for all Americans, basically. And then Obergefell sued, saying that Prop 8 in California was against the law because it violated Lovings v. Virginia. Now, the problem is that the definition of marriage has changed over the last 60 to 70 years. So marriage use, was it 2022, Sean? Seriously? Holy shit. It was 3 years ago. Oh my God. It feels like it was last June. It's crazy. All right. So marriage in 1967. Oh, I was right. 1967. Oh, I am good. Marriage in 1967 was a precursor to having kids. And so the idea was that, of course, marriage is an absolute right because having children is an absolute right. So you're not going to have children without being married. That was the thought in 1967. The problem is that's not the same case today. So Lovings v. Virginia, in my opinion, is bad law because it creates a fundamental right that never existed. The fundamental right is to bear children, not to get married. You should be, and again, apologies, but you shouldn't be doing one without the other. But the right is not marriage, it is children. And basing Obergefell off of the right to be married instead of the right to have children is where Obergefell fails. So that's what's going to happen here. Now you're going to hear, in fact, I bet you there's even comments. That's funny. That is fucking hilarious. What was I going to say? I bet you there are comments. I bet you there's comments in there saying that this just means that states are going to go back to saying black people can't marry white people or that gay people can't get married and all that. And that's complete bullshit. Okay. What's likely going to happen is you're going to have 7 states: South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky, Kansas, Wyoming. I'm really struggling to get that 7. Maybe Tennessee. You're gonna have those 7 that say, okay, we're not gonna issue those marriage licenses. But they're still required to accept those marriages from other states. So if John and Jim, sorry, hang on. If X-Wing and Beardo get married in Florida, then the state of South Carolina still has to accept that marriage if they move to South Carolina. That's shit. What's the clause called? Not equal protection. Full faith and credit clause requires states to recognize and respect the public acts and records of and judicial proceedings of other states. So, not it's basically reciprocity, Sean, but it's called the full faith and credit clause. So that's what's going to end up happening. You're actually, and honestly, you're going to create a tourism industry where that honestly states had in 2010 and before Oberfall, there was an industry where gay people would go to certain states to get married because they couldn't get married in that state. That's what's going to end up happening. And again, it's going to be a very small number of states. 7 is probably pushing it. And the other thing is you're going to see states, South Carolina, if they were given the decision, would probably do it. But the question is going to be, does South Carolina want to spend the money doing that? Because the fight in the state house would be super annoying. So that's another issue you're going to have. You're going to have states that would probably want to do it, but what they'll probably end up doing is they will empower the city clerks or the town clerks to decide whether or not they're willing to issue the licenses. Sort of like what what's her name is suing about in Kentucky. The same thing that the lady did in Alabama. That's probably what's going to end up happening. Ooh, why is Helldivers 2 trending? Just something about their patch. Okay. So yeah, that's what's going to happen. It's not going to be a big deal. They'll probably sit there and say it's not federal law. If the federal government wants to pass a law, they can, but this is the state's issue. The states need to decide, and you're going to have let's see, every single blue state that's currently legal in won't do anything. You're going to have a bunch of states that it becomes illegal in. It's like it will become illegal in South Carolina. Now, South Carolina we're usually pretty red, but there's enough like blue and purple here that they might say, okay, you know what, let's put it on the ballot. And honestly, that's what needs to happen. It needs to be placed on the ballot. Let all 50 states vote. If South Carolina says no, then Jim and John can't get married here. But you can go to North Carolina and get married. I hear the Biltmore is nice this time of year. What do y'all think? Bueller. It's the only thing I hate about, or not hate. It's the only thing that I like more about Kick than YouTube is Kick's responses are like boom, 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 because the delay is like 2.5 seconds versus YouTube, whose their delay, can be up to like a minute. Only nice for winter. Yeah, I've never been. Unless it was my house, I don't really think I care. I say that, but I actually really want to go to Highclere Castle in England, so maybe I do care. Yeah, that's the other thing that's kind of annoying about Kick Hokies is they're behind all the other platforms. And I mean, Kick had like a year head start on Rumble, and Rumble is, I think miles ahead of them. I don't use Rumble almost at all because, well, I've used them once, but I don't use them because doing that automatic video thing is really annoying. I don't understand it. So the second that kind of thing is no longer required, I'll start using them again. But having to do 3 different things to set up a stream over there I'm out on that. Neurotic is currently watching Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. I really hope that's good. So Trump has demolished the east wing of the White House. So is that true? Has he demolished the east wing, or has he demolished the walkway between the two? Because I haven't been able to find any photos that show that angle. So if the main building's here, the east wing's here, you get that walkway. I've seen every photo I've seen has been this way, so that you don't see the building over here. Okay, so yeah, I absolutely Hokies. Okay, so this is the White House. So just want y'all to confirm. So he has removed this area right here and a little bit of the east wing, right? Because this is just a walkway. This walkway and then that walkway, and that's the west wing. Which honestly, I also for a very long time thought that this was the fucking Oval Office right here, not over here. When I found that out, I felt flabbergasted. But he's removed this. Yeah, so it's not the entire East Wing. Oh, wait. So it's this you're saying? Where this Council of Economic Advisors thing is? This is the wall he's removed? Really? Wow. I feel like I've been bamboozled by the internet. Media. Okay, but exactly, Hoagies. But look at this. So this is the main building right here. And this, I mean, this is the walkway. And then this right here, this building down here, that's the East Wing. So I'm confused now where this fucking ballroom is going. Because so this thing says that this is what he's tearing down. Now, is he doing construction on both sides of the East Wing? So they've torn this down and now they're tearing this bit down and they're going to do something like, I don't know, a bridge around. Um, let's see if I gotta be careful because okay, okay. Let's just take that off and see if I can find. I'm sure some of y'all saw it. Sorry. Oh, no, the guys, I actually think it is the entire East Wing. Um, yeah, because here's a nothing, nothing. No one missing anything. We're not going to talk about it. Because here is now, obviously, I mean, this could be a fake photo. I mean, they got the flagpoles. But this is apparently a picture showing the entire East Wing gone. I mean, I don't really care. It's a carport and the offices of the First Lady. I think Melania can work out of a different room for a couple of months. Well, maybe a little bit longer. I have a feeling that building a building at the White House requires a little more security clearance than just a normal building does. I don't know. I don't really care. I do think it's funny that a group of, oh, let's say Californians, um, Charles K. Voorhees and Judith A. Voorhees. Are they going to tell me where they live? They're not. I believe they're residents of Virginia. These two, I'm going to assume they're a couple. They have filed a lawsuit in the District of Columbia requesting a TRO to force Donald Trump not to destroy the East Wing. Now, of course, the funny thing is it's moot now because the East Wing's gone. So nothing they can really do now, which is funny. That's how Trump's going to need to treat everything going forward. Just plow through and get it done so that by the time the lawsuit actually gets decided, they can't do anything about it. Oh, did y'all hear about this? So Hokies, they don't really have standing. They're probably going to argue, and let's see if they even oh, hang on, we've got a memorandum in support. Let's find the memorandum. Wow, that is the nerdiest thing I think I've ever said in my life. 25 CV 03761. Oh, 3761. Yeah. Oh, it's 125. Okay, no. Let's just go with Voorhees. And isn't it hilarious that their names are Voorhees? Jason would be really pissed off. Jason Voorhees, Sean. That's why it's funny. Sean, you don't have standing just because you're an American citizen. Okay. Trump. Let's see. Let's see if no. October. What day was this filed? 23, probably. No, how about 22? Nope. 21? Nope. 20? There's 7 cases filed against Donald Trump on the 20th. No. I cannot find the damn memo. Oh, hang on. Wow, is Threads going to be helpful? That's the cover sheet. No, that's wrong. Hang on. Okay, here we go. Courthouse news. Do we have the memo? I want the memo. Come on. This would be so funny. I don't think I'm going to be finding it. Because, see, that's something that they would address in their memo saying why they have standing. And I want to know why they think they have standing. Ha! That's exactly right. Oh my God, there's 8,200. Okay, filed after, let's say, the 15th. It's not even on here yet. What? Look up a specific citation. Nope, it is not working. Unpublished. That's really too bad. Oh well, I tried. I tried to have fun tonight, guys, but it didn't work. Okay, let's talk about the really dumb woman in Congress. I know that doesn't really narrow it down. Well, woman narrows it down a little bit, but good old what's her really dumb name? Nancy Pelosi, who seems to think that federal officers, if they violate state law, may be arrested. Breaking, Nancy Pelosi says local authorities may arrest federal agents if they break California law. If they are convicted, President Trump cannot pardon them. So a couple things here. If a federal agent was convicted of violating a state law, that's true. Donald Trump would not be able to pardon them at all. Absolutely. But these federal agents, and let's just use the example that is obvious here. They're talking about, or she's talking about ICE agents that wear face coverings and will be breaking the law in California because California is trying to pass that law that says ICE agents aren't allowed to wear face coverings. I don't know if Nancy Pelosi knows about this, but there's this thing called the Supremacy Clause in the Constitution that says the law of the United States is superior to the law of the several states. If you have a state law and a federal law and they speak on the same thing, the federal law wins every single time, no matter what. Now, if you have a state law that speaks in an area that the Constitution is silent on, the state law probably wins. But it depends on what it's trying to legislate. If the state law is trying to legislate a federal action that is not a law, but a rule created by a party in the federal government, then the state law most likely fails because it's trying to legislate a federal activity. This state law that Nancy Pelosi is talking about, or is most likely talking about, in my opinion, is trying to legislate the actions of a federal agency. They can't do that. Now, as long as the federal agents are acting within their scope as a federal agent, as long as they are in an active pursuit, active arrest, on operations, in the car, entering the ICE facility, they're protected by the Supremacy Clause. If they're walking around downtown LA wearing an ICE badge and they're not on duty, they're not protected by the Supremacy Clause. And that state law could, now again, that state law, as I read it a couple weeks ago, says while on duty. So even then, that state law is quiet to the thing that they're going to try to police. So what we have here is really just an example of a woman that doesn't know what the hell she's talking about, which, no offense, women in chat, seems to happen a lot. I mean, y'all did give us the fucking apple. That's all I'm going to say. You bit into it first. I could be living in a wonderful paradise, walking around buck naked, but no, y'all had to eat the apple. Thanks. That's funny. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, so this is the thing. Okay. They shut up, Beardo. They know that they're not going to be able to win in the end. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to force us to spend our war chest, basically. They want us to spend all the money. They want Pam Bondi and the DOJ tied up defending all these silly lawsuits so that they can't get to what they actually need to do. Like they want the DOJ worried about these dumbass litigations when they should be focusing on prosecuting Obama and Brennan and Comey and all these people who spied and committed treason against the United States, who tried to overthrow a democratically elected president. That's what they're trying to do. Speaking of which, good old John Brennan has been criminally referred to the DOJ. Chairman Jordan How do I do this? Is it this one? Yep. Today, Chairman Jim Jordan of Ohio referred. Oh, what am I going to get here? There we go. Let's see. Look at this one. Let's use his words. Again, it's a PDF, so we have to spend eternity zooming in. Dear Attorney General Bondi, we write to refer significant evidence that former director of the Central Intelligence Agency, John Brennan, knowingly made false statements during his transcribed interview before the Committee on the Judiciary on May 11, 2023. While testifying, Brennan made numerous willfully and intentionally false statements of material fact contradicted by the record established by the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence and the CIA. Under 18 U.S.C. 1001, a witness commits a crime if he, quote, knowingly and willfully makes a materially false statement or representation with respect to, quote, any investigation or review conducted pursuant to the authority of any committee of the Congress. Congress cannot perform its oversight function if witnesses who appear before its committees do not provide truthful testimony. Making false statements before Congress is a crime that undermines the integrity of the committee's constitutional duty to conduct oversight. The points below support an investigation into whether Brennan made false statements in his transcribed interview. So this is what I'm assuming is going to be the comments he made and proof that they were false. On January 6, 2017, the CIA, Federal Bureau of Investigation, and National Security Agency published a declassified version of an intelligence community assessment titled Assessing Russian Activities and Intentions in Recent U.S. Elections. The ICA stated, among other things, that Russia, quote, developed a clear preference for President Trump and aspired to help him win the election. This conclusion, now known to be false, was based in part on the Steele dossier, which was referenced in the ICA main body text and referred to further detailed in a 2-page ICA annex. The Steele dossier was a series of reports containing baseless accusations concerning President Trump's ties to Russia, compiled and delivered to the FBI in 2016 by former British intelligence agent Christopher Steele. Subsequent investigations confirmed the Clinton campaign and the DNC paid Steele via the law firm Perkins Coie. That's the law firm that Trump has tried to get removed from all of the federal funds that you want to talk about someone that they are going out of their way to protect them. An opposition research firm, Fusion GPS, to provide derogatory information about Trump's purported ties to Russia, which resulted in the discredited dossier. In July of 2025, the Trump administration declassified numerous documents showing that the ICA's main findings were false, and that the Obama administration knowingly fabricated the findings for the purpose of undermining the Trump administration. Now, this is going to be crazy, okay? So, what is Caroline Leavitt? She is the press secretary. She was giving I don't know when it was. I don't know if it was today. I don't know if it was months ago when all this stuff first kind of started coming out. But she was, doing her job as press secretary. And one of the reporters asked, the Supreme Court basically said in a case about Donald Trump that the president cannot be arrested for things he does while president. That's how she qualified the ruling. And that's not what the ruling said. The ruling said that the president cannot be arrested for and tried for things that he does as president within the purview of the president. It's sort of like if you're an ambulance driver and you hit someone while you're driving someone to the hospital, you're not liable for that accident. The state, depending on what ambulance company you work for, or that ambulance company is liable for the damages, not you. If you go out on a bender and hit somebody with your ambulance, you're liable. You weren't doing your job. Hokies is exactly right. You cannot be arrested for doing your job. Barack Obama was not doing his job as president when he created this story and tried to get the president-elect in trouble. That wasn't being president. That wasn't ruling the country. That wasn't asking for advice and consent from the Senate. That's not what it was. It was tyranny, and it was treason. So to sit there and you're going to hear all about I genuinely think we are heading into an era where all we're going to hear on TV is 9 different definitions for treason, and 9 different definitions for immunity, and 9 different definitions for the job of the president. That's what we're going to hear. It's going to be insane, and not in a good way. The newly declassified evidence also confirms that Brennan falsely testified to the committee during a transcribed interview on May 11, 2023. Brennan stated that, quote, the CIA was not involved at all with the Steele dossier. He testified, Mr. Gates, all right, so the fact that the DNC was providing the financing for the Steele dossier development doesn't give you concern that it might be partisan. Again, that was happening back in 2016. I understand how you were able to tie this to my reference. I understand how you were able to tie this to my reference to my expertise, but I don't see how any relevance to the Hunter Biden laptop issue. Well, you said that you signed this letter that we now acknowledge Joe Biden misused in a debate to fool the American public because you're this great Russia expert. So I'm trying to understand your Russia expertise, and you were involved in analyzing this information. No, I was not involved in analyzing the dossier at all. I said the first time I actually saw it, it was after the election. The CIA was not involved at all with the dossier. You can direct that to the FBI and to others. Were you aware of the FBI's involvement with the dossier? Yes, because there's an annex in the ICA, the Intelligence Community Assessment, that the Bureau asked to be included in there. It was their purview, their area, not ours at all. It's true. A report drafted by HPSCI, I wonder what that means, in 2017 and recently declassified shows Brennan's testimony to be false. According to the report, the ICA includes supporting evidence for the ICA's false claim that Russia aspired to help President Trump win the election. Brennan's assertion that the CIA was not involved at all with the Steele dossier cannot be reconciled with the facts. As the newly declassified documents show, a CIA officer drafted the annex containing a summary of the dossier. Brennan made the ultimate decision, along with then FBI Director James Comey, to include information from the dossier in the ICA. And as discussed further below, Brennan overruled senior CIA officers who objected to the inclusion of the dossier material. And let's see, Brennan falsely testified when he told the committee that the CIA opposed including the Steele dossier. Chairman Jordan asked, how do you learn about the Steele? Who do you learn from? How do you learn about the dossier in December? I received a copy of it from the FBI when they were wanting to have a summary of the document attached to the ICA. That was done. This was done before. Sorry, this was before we went to Trump Tower and briefed Donald Trump when Jim Comey was going to talk to Donald Trump about the contents of that dossier. And the CIA was very much opposed to having any reference or inclusion of the Steele dossier to the Intelligence Community Assessment. And so they sent over a copy of the dossier to say that this was going to be separate from the rest of the assessment, and that's when the CIA was given formal access to it. So he's sitting there saying that the CIA received this from the FBI, they read it, and they said, no, do not put this in the ICA, and that the FBI overruled them. Yet, further in this, we have evidence that senior officials who said don't put this in the ICA were overruled by Brennan, and Brennan told them absolutely put it in the ICA, leak that shit so that people can see that Trump is a Russian asset. And then a month later testified before the House Committee on Oversight. Nope, it's not that one. It's which committee is this? Judiciary. The Judiciary Committee, the second oldest committee in the entire country, that the CIA had no knowledge of it, and that he said they should put it in the ICA. So, I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see where all this goes. I'm a little disappointed that he hasn't already been indicted. I was hoping. I mean, it's Thursday, and the last two of them have happened on Thursday. I was hoping he'd be indicted by now. In sum, Bren's testimony before the committee on May 11th, 2023 was a brazen attempt to knowingly and willfully testify falsely and fictitiously to material matters. We would therefore make this referral to the department to examine whether any of Bren's testimony warrants a charge for the violation of 18 U.S.C. 1001. And they also sent a letter, a carbon copy, to Jamie Raskin, who is an idiot. Yeah, I mean there would absolutely, yeah. So if they're going grand jury, then yeah, there's two grand juries a year. It's impaneled from January through July, and then, or I guess January through June, and then there's one impaneled from July through the end of the year. So I mean, they could be. I mean, when was this sent? October 21st. So I mean, they could be hearing the arguments right now. Well, not right this second. It's a little late. But the grand jury might be impaneled right now and hearing the case. So, maybe we get an answer next week. So that, I mean, I think that's going to be very interesting to see where that goes. Christmas has been a pretty good year. It's been a pretty good year. We've seen a lot of really good stuff happen in this past year. We've seen some really terrible stuff, obviously capped with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, but we've had a lot of really good wins this year, and everything. I mean, it's all going to come down to November 4th, which is election day for a lot of stuff. There's a lot of local races. There's a lot of national elections that are going to be happening. People need to show up to vote. I don't care if the only election in your district is for fucking coroner. Go vote. Because the coroner in almost every single county in the country is the only person that can arrest the sheriff. So think about that. Oh, also, did y'all hear that there is a billionaire that just wrote $130 million check to the federal government to pay for the troops? That's pretty cool. Oh, medical examiners. Okay, then maybe that position has been given to someone else then. So what do we think about Trump announcing that he's going to let San Francisco off the hook? So we saw last week Trump, I think it was it might have been Monday. It's been kind of a long week. We saw that Trump basically said San Francisco is the next spot we're going into. We're going to take the fight to them, remove the affliction, all this stuff. And apparently he had a phone call with, he said, several friends, and then the mayor of San Francisco. The mayor of San Francisco basically begged him to wait. He said, you know what? We're doing a pretty good job. We've got a lot of this back under control. Give us a little bit more time. Honestly, in my opinion, I think that's the way it should have worked. Again, I've been saying this from the very start. Gavin Newsom should have began all of this because he's the reason all of this has started. He should have began this by saying, yes, please send them in. Give us a helping hand. You don't need to send them for 60 days. Just let's activate them for the weekend, clear out some of this stuff that's going on, some of this unrest, and send them home. You know, if he had done that, he would have been the hero of California, and he would have helped solve a big problem. But because he refused to allow Trump even a scintilla of credit, he filed suit against Donald Trump that's now been upheld by a full panel of the Ninth Circuit. And there's only one place for it to go from there, the Supreme Court, which Gavin Newsom won't appeal that because they don't want Trump to have the power nationwide. Right now, it's only limited in the Ninth Circuit, which is why Pritzker can still keep them out of Chicago. Hokies, that's T-O-O. 2 O's. So I think that's going to be the last thing I talk about. Look at this, guys. So we've seen a couple of these happen now. No, Sean, the court has the court changed their mind yet? Illinois is in like the 7th district, I think. Yeah, Illinois is in the 7th circuit. It's a federal judge that issued an injunction to prevent the National Guard from being deployed to Chicago. Oh, I think I read your thing wrong. Pritzker can keep them out because his district appellate court issued the opposing. Yes. No, the appellate court, you're right. Exactly. The appellate court has not yet ruled. Dumbass. Yeah, the appellate court hasn't issued a ruling yet. So I kind of expect that to happen soon. It is Judge April Perry who extended a restraining order on October 22nd, yesterday, halting President Trump's plan to deploy 300 Illinois guardsmen and 400 from Texas to the Jolie area near Chicago for immigration enforcement and safety operations, pending a U.S. Supreme Court decision. The ruling follows weekend shootings that killed 4 and wounded 14. What is the... Okay, we're going to use Rock to give me an answer on this. Because I don't know what the U.S. Supreme Court hearing is on this. What? And I don't feel like slogging through Google to find an answer. Come on, think harder. Well, here we go. Oh, okay. So Trump asked the Supreme Court, really? Why didn't you appeal to the Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. So, let's see if I can get this right. The Judge Perry issued a TRO. TROs are not appealable to the Supreme Court unless they meet a certain requirement. They meet that requirement here. This TRO has the impression of being an actual injunction because it being instituted could cause irreparable harm. So because of that, it can be appealed all the way to the Supreme Court immediately without having to go through the Court of Appeals. So that's why this stay is pending the answer from the Supreme Court. That answer could come really any day now. Honestly, I'm shocked it hasn't happened already. They appealed on the 17th. So, I mean, that's been, what, a week? Almost a week. So, maybe we get an answer tomorrow. But, yeah, let's talk about this. So, Pritzker, Pelosi said that the federal government that the Democrats and the federal government were going to do this. I think they said they were going to do this in California. They're creating Letitia James is doing something in New York. They've created this task force to watch and report ICE. And this seems like the perfect attempt to just continue to dox federal agents and to try and scare ICE from doing their job. Here, Pritzker tweets, Donald Trump's masked agents believe that their actions are immune from investigation or accountability. They're not. Well, they actually kind of are. I've signed an executive order today establishing the Illinois Accountability Commission to create a public record and capture the impact in our communities. Again, they are doing all of this with the hope and the bet that they win in 2026 and 2028, and that then they can go after these people. This is why 26 and 28 are going to be the two biggest and most important elections. We thought 24 is child's play to how important 26 and 28 are going to be. If we don't snatch back several seats in both the House and the Senate in 26, we're going to see more of this bullshit continue. If we don't eliminate, and when I say eliminate, you know what I mean. I don't mean eliminate. I mean, if we don't convince people the Democratic Party is not what they used to be. Honestly, the Democratic Party used to be the good guys. Okay, and what I mean by that is they used to be good people. They wanted to help. They saw an issue and they were like, you know what? This is a problem. Let's help. But they don't care anymore. Now it's only what they want. It's power, power, power. They don't care about helping the little guy anymore. Now that's what Republicans care about. Republicans want to make sure that the single dad or the single mom or the young married couple can afford a house, that they don't have to take out government benefits so that they can eat, that they can send their kids to college if they want. They also want them to be able to send them to trade school and learn and do all this stuff, that it was actually going to help both America and it's going to help them succeed in life. Okay? There's no need anymore to give a bunch of money to people to go get a political science degree when a political science degree doesn't help anybody. There's no need to give a bunch of money to people for, and this is why they continue, and this is why the Democrats want to push the closure past November 1, because they want everyone's pocketbooks to get hurt, and they want to be able to blame that on Republicans. And it's not Republicans' fault that the ACA expires. It's the Democrats' fault. The Democrat, now, obviously, I say obviously, my opinion is that the Democrats created the end of the subsidies because they thought, I'm giving them a lot of leeway here, they thought that there would be enough people on the system by 2025 that it would be paying for itself, because that was the bill of goods that was sold to us, that as long as enough people get on it, I mean, very much the same idea as insurance. And to begin with, as long as there are enough people on Blue Cross Blue Shield, then Blue Cross Blue Shield has enough money to pay for the 1,000 claims they get if 100,000 people are paying into the pot. But the problem is, and it's another one of the reasons why everything is out of control and cost-wise, is because the government has been subsidizing healthcare for the last 60 years. So, Columbia Hospital number 1 knows that they can charge an extra 30% on everything because the government's going to pick up that 30% tab. That's why school has gotten more expensive. That's why housing has gotten more expensive. That's why everything is more expensive, because instead of allowing the free market to dictate everything, they allow the free market to dictate everything with that extra 30 to 50% that the government's going to pay. It's a bunch of idiots. And Sean's right. Federal judges need to start being punished. And again, this goes to my comment months ago that insurance companies and hospitals want to blame lawyers. Lawyers want to blame insurance companies. The real people at fault for just about every issue in America are judges. Why are judges at fault for the rise of my insurance? The judges are at fault because they don't sit there and say, okay, we are not doing this case. Okay, this case is bullshit, and you know it. They are not sending attorneys before the bar for Rule 11 violations. It's Rule 11 in South Carolina. It's Rule 92.3C in New Jersey. But almost every single bar in the country has a rule that basically says an attorney cannot put their name to something unless they know it to be a legitimate complaint. And the problem is the definition of legitimate is bullshit now. As long as there's $1 to be made, an attorney's going to put their name to it. And judges aren't policing this stuff like they're supposed to. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Here's some liquid death. I don't remember that, Hokies. I know there were parks that were closed, but I mean, aren't parks always closed when the government shuts down? That's what I thought. I saw a video the other day of someone just driving through. Open air monuments and overlooks along roads at the DC area. Huh. So there was like tape across. You know what? Maybe I do remember this. Um, yeah. They put up signs that said, due to the government shutdown, the national parks are temporarily closed to visitors. Yeah, that's bullshit. Um, Holy shit. Um, holy fuck, guys. Anybody remember who Sean King is? So Sean King, yeah, Hogan's right. The white black guy just tweeted this. Okay. I actually think it's a great idea to build a big ballroom on the White House grounds. It's virtually impossible to hold events of any size there, and they are always wasting millions on tents and heaters and chairs and lights and everything else. Stop acting like you have some emotional attachment to the East Wing. You don't. Do we agree with Sean King? And honestly, I love the first reply. He's like, oh my God, I agree with him. Now, I am curious what this says. It's less about attachment to the East Wing and more about the cost. Regardless of who's funding this country is in a recession, and that money can be spent helping the effing people that will never have an opportunity to attend an event at the White House. Okay. Um, the East Wing was the center of women's power in the White House since the 40s. For a feminist like myself, you'd better believe I have an emotional attachment to it. I doubt you do. A lot of people actually have asked for it. didn't have things in common with Sean King on my bingo card ever. uh, I know this isn't. Uh, I was kind of hoping for like a crash out or something. I cannot believe that I actually agreed with something that Sean King said. Holy crap. Okay. Oh, so Hakeem Jeffries, this gonna be it. We're gonna end it with this. Um, Hakeem Jeffries is going on a tour over the last couple of times on the TVs, basically talking about how they're going to take revenge on a lot of people. And this time he's talking about how they're going to take revenge on the funders of the ballroom. If you gave money to fund this, we're going to hunt you down and do something to you. Now, obviously, what are they going to do? Well, if you gave $1, you probably get a fine for $1 million. If you gave $1 billion, you probably go to jail. He really needs to get to the table and start figuring out what they're going to cut from their budget, so that okay, semi-breaking news. All right, so that report from what's her name? That report from Nancy Pelosi on we're going to basically arrest federal agents if they break the law in California. The Office of the Deputy Attorney General to Honorable Gavin Newsom, Rob Bonta, Nancy Pelosi, and Brooke Jenkins. Federal agents, officers, and prosecutors work tirelessly every day to advance the public safety mission set forth by President Trump and Attorney General Bondi. Despite receiving no pay during this current government shutdown, federal agents and officers across all 4 federal districts in California continue to put themselves in harm's way to keep Americans safe. Rather than supporting and working with federal law enforcement professionals, California politicians, including Representative Nancy Pelosi and San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins, have instead called for state and local law enforcement officials to, quote, arrest federal agents and officers for enforcing federal law enacted by the U.S. Congress, including federal immigration laws. The Department of Justice views any arrest of federal agents and officers in the performance of their official duties as both illegal and futile. Numerous federal laws prohibit interfering with and impeding immigration or other law enforcement operations. And that's another thing. You cannot make a state law that governs a federal policy area, even if it's not a federal law. If the federal government sets policy for that thing, then it is a federal issue. It is not a state issue. The Department of Justice views any, let's see. Before departments, agencies, or committing further, the Supremacy Clause of Article 4 of the United States Constitution precludes a federal officer from being held on a state criminal charge where the alleged crime arose during the performance of his federal duties. Like I said, once again, I was right. The Department of Justice will investigate and prosecute any state or local official who violates these federal statutes or directs or conspires with others to violate them. Accordingly, you are hereby directed to preserve all written and electronic communications and records related to any attempts or efforts to impede or obstruct federal law enforcement officials. We urge you and any other California officials to publicly abandon this apparent criminal conspiracy to stop threatening law enforcement and to prioritize the safety of your citizens. In the meantime, federal agents and officers will continue to enforce federal law and will not be deterred by the threat of arrest by California authorities who have abdicated their duty to protect their own constituents. Todd Blanche, Deputy Attorney General. Well, shit. John Brewer, is that the sheriff that created like the tent jails? Former governor. Okay. Who's the sheriff I'm thinking of? Well, guys, gals, friends, that is gonna be it. As Legally Speaking number 14. Next week we'll be back for Legally Speaking number 15. We're gonna be back doing this on a weekly basis. I haven't decided yet what we're going to do with the state of over on the King's Court. I mean, on King's Advisors. Right now, there's just nothing that I'm really interested in talking about. So I think it's going to take a bit of a hiatus. But for now, I'm going to be putting all my attention to this. Obviously, we'll still be playing video games over there and all that kind of stuff. But we're getting real close. We're close to monetization over here. Let me give y'all an update. So we are, whoever subscribed, thank you so much. We are 104 subscribers away from the 500 mark, and then I think we are about 1,000 hours away from the monetization mark. We're just shy of 1,000 hours. So hoping to get there. I'd love to get there by the end of December. It'd be a pretty cool Christmas present to myself, but we'll see. We're going to really have to push hard in November to really have a chance. Guys, thank you all so much. I hope you all have a great night. I'll see everyone, maybe, assuming you're interested in all that. See everyone tomorrow. I'm sure we'll be playing a bunch of video games and stuff this weekend. And, of course, in the videos. Y'all have a great night, and I will see y'all later. But what do I press to – what